Welcome to the Edu2020 podcast. As Edu2020, we are a group of educators that support educators in simplifying education. And I am here with Shannon. My name is Courtney, and we are getting ready to dive into a very fun topic today. Shannon, tell us what our goal is for today.
We're going to talk about goals.
Oh, you want to
Talk
talk about goals?
This is a topic that we get really passionate
I
about.
feel like we should have done a trigger warning for people that are listening.
We may already have a few eye rolls. I know if I were listening, I'd be giving a few eye rolls.
I guarantee
right
you
now.
the bots on this video are going to be eye rolling.
Oh, I love when we get spicy bots.
We
on
do
our
get
videos.
spicy bots.
It's funny.
It's a good time. So go check out any of the social media platforms and see if you can spot the bots. We're gonna have a contest one day. Spot the bot.
Spot the bots.
But yeah. So tell me, Shannon, when I say the word goal, let's do a word association game.
Oh, that's scary.
When I say the word goal, what do you think of?
Shut up. No, just kidding.
That escalated real fast. But for real, what do you think of?
When I was in the classroom, I would think of goals as these mysterious things that I had to somehow throw a bunch of activities, task, effort at trying to hit. They felt random.
That's what I think of. I think of moving target. Like that's literally
moving.
what I think of.
That's a good one. Moving target.
There's
'cause
lots.
That's what it feels like.
We love some goals in education, don't we?
Right. So, what are the point of goals? Why do we even need to be talking about goals? And how should we be using goals? Those are some pretty loaded questions there.
They are. Did you throw them all at me at one time?
I did.
I'm so overwhelmed right now.
Choose your own adventure.
Well, first and foremost, I just recently came out of a school district. I'm not going to shout out the name of them, but they're wonderful. And I kept seeing all over the school wall, like the walls of the school, they had like behavior and it said wig, behavior wig. Attendance wig. And I'm like, why do we have like all this fake hair? And they're like, no, wig stands for wildly important goal. So they've decided to kind of, change it into wig. So they have like different like attendance wigs, behavior wigs.
Yeah.
So you can wear lots of wigs on your head or you can, have goals. But if it's one thing we love in education, it's goals. We have goals for lessons or we have goals for student improvement goals. We have goals for subject matters. We have a lot of goals. And I think that that's why I thought moving target, because a lot of times as a teacher, every meeting would start with, okay, so our short-term goal is this. Our cluster cycle goal is this. Our school goal is this. And a lot of times it was a number, and I don't.
Were you overwhelmed by goals? Because that sounds like a lot.
Just a little bit. I mean, it would be a lot cooler if they would have called it a wildly important goal at least, but it was on every agenda. It was on the wall. We put it everywhere. We said it all the time. But as a teacher, for me, what did it mean? Because all I knew is that I was doing the best I could do every day with every kid, to my ability. And I was just hoping that I was going to hit something at some point, some goal that they had out there.
Well, and I think early on, I had the opposite experience where in the beginning of my career, I don't really remember talking about goals very much. Just here are your standards, here are the textbooks, and go have fun. And so then, life changed. I think we're talking about two ends of
life changes you.
Right. Life changes. Education changes constantly.
Yes, that is the one thing consistent in education.
It's going to change.
It's inconsistency.
So I think we're talking about two different pain points, and we get to see these in education and in different schools because we're in a lot of different school districts where sometimes we have way too many goals and we don't know what we're trying to do or change, or we're trying to focus on too much, or we don't have any real clear goals. For example, there was one school that I went in and I asked before I started instructional coaching with them, what are your school improvement goals in ELA? And I was told written expression.
What does that even mean?
That's a great topic. But what's our goal for written expression? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I think it's knowing where you are versus where you want to go. And what's our target for getting there. Yeah. Sometimes like goals are not clear at all. And this is where I see a lot of pain point. If you scroll and you just search instructional coaching on TikTok, automatically what comes up?
Goals. It's just, you need a goal to instruct, to coach your teachers toward. You need a goal.
I see a lot of people saying, put them back in the classroom.
Oh, you're
Becau
talking about, okay. So like, what do you do with instructional coaches?
Right?
Gotcha.
And we get to see both sides of that. Like we get to work with some phenomenal coaches that are actually making progress towards goals.
Mhm.
And I think the teachers that work with those instructional coaches is vastly different from the ones who they're they're trying to change a teacher,
So
like,
you're talking
or
about like
improve.
a lot of times, like you jumped from instructional coaching with teaching. Like we have instructional coaches have goals, and then teachers have goals, and then principals have. There's
Mhm.
just a lot of goals, and so like there's a lot of pain points with goals, and we want to talk through some solutions.
Yeah.
And so from a teacher standpoint, I can even speak for like what I figured out.
Mhm.
I knew that there was a certain number we had to hit, but I had to think about, and I think this stands for instructional coaches as well. I had to think about what were the steps that were going to get me toward that goal, not
That's
just the goal
good.
itself.
That's
And
good.
so, even with instructional coaching, because we know we have different levels of educators listening or watching today, but I think it's not just about the goal, it's about the action steps that move you toward the goal.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
No, it's so true.
Because we do that as part of our leadership training. If you've
Mhm.
ever attended one of our leadership trainings, that's a shameless plug for our leadership institute. We make sure that we don't just set the goals, but we break down the goals into actionable steps.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the difference maker because teachers, you give them a goal, they want to achieve it, they just don't know how.
Right. I was there. I knew that I had to move my kids a certain amount, but I was like, there are so many variables in a classroom
Mm,
that you really have to. I love what you said. You said it best. Like you have to have the action steps are almost more important than the goal. I mean, you have to have a North Star. You
yeah.
have to have something that you're working toward, but what are the most important steps that we can take to get there? Because you can't change everything in the classroom.
Mm-mm.
And I can give a really good example of this. I had a target that I had to meet one year for my level of effectiveness. I had to move a certain group of students, and it was a really challenging year,
Mm.
a group. But I worked with my principal, and I've shouted her out before, but we decided to focus on writing. We knew that we looked at the data. But we were like, we can't fix everything, but let's just start here. Let's focus on here are our action steps. We're going to make sure kids know this, this, and this. And we're going to keep looking at those data points. Not everything. We can't fix everything,
Mm.
but let's get really narrow and focused.
And one of the biggest growth years that I was a part of, we kept our goal very simple. And everyone focused on the same thing. So a lot of times with goals, you are setting one for ELA, setting one for math, setting one for social studies. Depends on what you're required, let's be honest, by the state that you're in or by the school district or
Hmm.
even by the school that you're in. But we all focused 1 year on reading comprehension. And I know that seems so
Like every
basic.
subject.
Every subject focused on reading comprehension, and we implemented one reading comprehension strategy. And when I tell you they did it in ELA, science, social, I mean the kids were sick. They're like, "We gotta do this again." We're like, "Yes, you do," because it was a strategy that just made them slow down. Because I've said this before, our kids don't read for fun anymore; they read to finish.
Oh,
And so even
preach.
with a word problem, like having them chunk that and just slow down and think, "What is this really asking me to do? What is it telling me?" We made them slow down and think through that. And because we only focused on reading comprehension, our school grew 11.7 points in 1 year.
Oh my gosh.
And it was because we all weren't focused on different stuff. We got really, really laser focused. And again, that depends on your requirements. A lot of times we're held by the ceilings that are put on us.
Right.
But if you have the autonomy to choose, what goals you can set in what areas, like I would make them as most closely aligned as possible and as laser focused as possible, because that is where you'll get the movement. We specialize in simplifying education because everyone
Yeah.
overcomplicates education. And with goals, that is one of the things that they overcomplicate. We've got to simplify and we've got to make it very clear on, okay, because teachers, it's one thing that they cannot stand is lack of clarity.
Hmm.
And if we have a goal and I'm just trying to aim for a number, that's not clarity to me. I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to
That's
do the best.
so true.
And so, like, how do I get real clear? And if you're a leader listening right now, if you're going to set a goal, you and your leadership team, your ILT, whatever you want to call it, ABCD, we get names for everything in education. Sit down with your leadership team and talk about, we have this goal this year. What are the action steps we're going to take? And what are the things the teacher's going to have to learn and be able to do as a result, to get to this goal?
Right.
We got to get real clear on that.
That's so true. And we've talked about before that really there are only two ways that
Mhm.
teachers can impact a goal, and that's to build the teacher's knowledge and that's to build their skill. And we're always going to go back to that. So if you've got a goal, you've got to break it down and know exactly what you just said. What do I know? What do I have to be able to do to hit this target? And I'm so interested in your example because as a teacher, that feels manageable to me. I'm not being asked to do 20 different things, all these different
Man.
initiatives. It's one strategy we're all going to work on, and then we can look to see what results is that having in student work.
Yeah, and everything was aligned. So that's another thing, the coherence of
Mm-hmm.
the learning in your teacher collaborations,
Mm-hmm.
that has to be aligned with your goal. And I'm talking to leaders again. I know there's teachers listening, but it's really important. If you want to share this link with them, do so. But it's important that when you are in these PLCs, ABCs, TCs, what do they call them?
Collaborative
Collaborative
planning. Yeah.
planning, that whatever you're doing there is moving teachers toward the goal. So when you have a goal and you've broken it down into
Right.
the skills a teacher needs, the knowledge a teacher needs, or even the skills and the knowledge your kids need, right? Think about how is your learning going to be sequenced for the adults in
Mm-hmm.
the school, but also, the kids. We have coherence. We use curriculum. It has coherence. Your learning collaborations for teachers should have coherence. There should be a purpose. It shouldn't be, hey, what are we going to do this week in PLCs? I don't know. What do you want to do? Because that happens a lot. Or we just
Right.
find the biggest fire that's out there right now. Let's do a PLC on student engagement. That's not part of the coherence of our learning sequence to get to our goal. So leaders out there, make sure that whatever you're doing to support your teachers, it's actually aligned to the steps that they need to take to move toward the goal.
Yeah, and you just teed me up, and I'm going to throw a curveball because we didn't even talk about this.
Okay, we're getting
But
wild.
let's say that you have a brand new curriculum.
Ooh.
What should the goals look like if you're trying to move student data, but you're in first year of just figuring out this new curriculum?
I would definitely. I mean, this kind of happened, where we are based out of in Louisiana. We had a new evaluator rubric, or evaluation rubric.
Right.
And so I think when you get a new curriculum or you get a new rubric, I think the majority of your learning, at least in that first semester for
Hmm.
collaboration, needs to be, just get good at using these materials, just get good at understanding the rubric. My learning sequence would start there. My goals would be based on implementation, so
So
I can
good.
make sure my teachers, that's that knowledge building piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'm building their knowledge of the curriculum so they can build their knowledge of the content and how to get kids to those standards.
So
So I
what
would
I'm
build it.
hearing you say is that we've got to give teachers time to learn and
Absolutely.
build their knowledge and not pile up 10 goals on top of that.
Yes, there's nothing more frustrating than when we get expectations placed upon us, but no time to meet those expectations
Yeah.
or any learning to meet those expectations. So if you're going to
Right.
give someone a goal or even an implementation goal, we want teachers. I think of this ELA, my ELA people out there, shout out, y'all are my people. Um, a lot of times we get a new curriculum and we've got to learn the new curriculum, the layout, the assessment approach, the different ways a lesson could look. But we also have to learn the text. We have to learn what, the new writing rubrics, all the things. But we're not given time to dig in. And that's what I love about what we get to do with teachers is that a lot of times districts will have us come in and we sit with the teachers and we take the time to actually read the text, to
Right.
go through lessons. We model a lesson. It's real powerful when you actually support teachers in the learning that they need to do.
Well, and how often are standards updated? So I think that's something else if you're a leader out there to consider because testing is about to come up around here at the time of this podcast. So you're going to be getting data back.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be taking the summer to dig through that and then setting goals for
Nerds.
next year. I also take into consideration what new initiatives are coming through the state, what new initiatives might be coming through the district, and take those into account when you're setting goals. You can have implementation goals that give a sense of comfort to your teachers. And we wrote about this in our Tier 1 curriculum trap book that stage 1 of curriculum implementation, just learn the materials and learn what components are critical. But also think about the standards or, like you said, the evaluation rubric. Consider those when you're writing your district improvement plans or your school improvement plans. I think that's a really important thing to consider. Also, with your instructional coaching program.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about this when we were talking about lesson framing. Just like your kids want to know, why are we doing this? Like your teachers are going to want to know, why are we doing this? Well, it's connected to our
Yeah.
initiative. It's connected to our goal. It's connected to our new curriculum. As much as you can have things align, and again, coherence, that is the game changer, because that's where you're going to get, I hate to say the word buy-in, or trust.
Trust is so good.
It's really about like, this is why we're doing this. It all makes sense. It doesn't feel like, I call it sometimes in curriculum, like you feel like curriculum whiplash. You're like, why is this in here? That's how teachers feel when you get a PLC out of left field, or if collaboration out of left field on something random. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So as much as you can have a plan for what are your goals, but what is your learning sequence going to look like? I know we have built out a learning sequence for the different curricula we work with, just for what those collaborations can like look like coherently across time. That way it doesn't feel random.
Well, it really helps to think about what foundations do you want to build? Because if something's important enough to set as a goal or a target, you've got to think, what foundational practices do we need to have in place to make this successful, so that we're not having to rewrite the same target the next year.
Or it just feels completely unattainable as a teacher.
Oh, true.
If I don't feel like whatever I'm doing every week that I'm doing in my planning time or collaboration is moving me toward that, I feel like it's a waste of my time. And
So
if it's one thing we do not want to do, is waste teachers' time, because that is the most valuable resource for a teacher.
100%.
And so be meaningful, be purposeful. And again, when we're setting those goals, think about breaking them down into actionable steps. What do teachers need to know, to be able to achieve that goal, but also what do they need to be able to do to achieve that goal, and make sure you're supporting them in both, because that's going to be the difference maker when it comes to actually moving toward your goals.
I love it. Thank you for nerding out on all things goals with me
Absolutely.
today. This was just a passionate topic, and we know that this is about to make its round again. So,
And when we talk about our next topic on our next episode about success criteria,
oh my goodness,
this is the knowledge and skills
hot topic.
piece is going to come into play. So you're going to want to check out that episode too, because you're going to see it coming back up in that success criteria episode. But in the meantime, if you haven't, hit that like, subscribe, all the things underneath
All
this
the
video.
follows.
Because we have a lot more content, a lot of things we'll be throwing your way. And of course, we will be joining you again next time. Again, my name is Courtney, and that is...
I'm Shannon.
And we are Edu2020. See y'all next time.